Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and JBizTechValley.com.
Well, Rabbi, we imported someone from Orange County to be on our program. We have a lot of Albany and Rensselaer County legislators, and now we got an Orange County legislator with us, Jeff Berkman.
Spreading out the whole New York State.
Jeff is from Middletown.
Right.
And I welcome you to the Jewish View.
Thank you
for coming.
I'm very flattered that you invited me. Happy to be here.
You are a longtime Orange County legislator, probably about 17, 18 years.
Yeah, 17.
You know?
Yeah, somewhere along the line I became like the elder statesman.
So are you living the dream now with this? And
Well, I enjoy public service, and it's been a number of years, and I'm honored to serve my community in the county legislature.
That's just a part-time job. Or it's,
Yeah, well, you know, technically, I suppose, but we've been real busy.
Hours, yeah.
We've been real busy, and we've been putting in a lot of hours.
the full-time...
Last several years, particularly.
Your full-time job is a real estate management company.
Correct.
JDB Management.
I guess you've been looking me up.
I have been, yes. So you have a lot of real estate rentals and commercial industrial properties?
Used to have. I don't have industrials anymore, but
Okay.
I have some vacant lots.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
how's
are
the
you a
economy
good?
in Orange County then?
Orange County is like the rest of America, a little sluggish but hopeful, and things have picked up better than previous years.
How many people are there? Just even basics. I don't know. I'm
In the
sure
county?
viewers- Yeah.
Just under 400,000 in the county, and just about 28,500 in the city of Middletown. City of Middletown, which I represent, actually grew in size. Not very typical. Usually the small upstate cities are shrinking, but Middletown actually grew. And mostly because of a more effective recounting of the census.
People moving in?
Well, a little bit of both, but we were vigilant, and others actually, more than I, but I participated in making sure that we had everybody registered.
And you had you had some turmoil in Middletown. I think the mayor was.
Well, that's over now.
Yeah, but there was some
me.
turmoil several years ago.
Right.
Where you had trouble. The mayor, was he indicted or convicted, or what was the story there?
Well, at the end, he was exonerated. That's my
Oh, was he?
understanding. He's still mayor. He got reelected after the fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? Tell us a quick version of the story of what.
He had had some indictments, and then several, and then he was found not guilty of all counts except one, which seemed to be a paper transaction. And then he resigned at that point, and then appealed the one conviction, and he won on appeal, so it was overturned. And then he ran and got reelected.
So what were the charges? Do you remember? Or
Well,
can we say what the charges are? I mean, they're just
I don't know
charges.
specifically what
Okay.
they are. I mean, I know
What's
the one that there was a conviction on was a better notification requirement.
So people could look up this on the social media. What's his name, the mayor?
Joseph DeStefano.
Okay.
He's a friend of mine,
Okay. Well.
and he was exonerated.
Okay, that's fine. I just remember that. Now, you know, we tape here in the Albany Public Library, and you are on the board of trustees of your local library called the Middletown Thrall Library. You're a board of trustees member. Were you president of the board?
I'm not currently
No,
serving
were
there.
you?
I was president during the planning and construction, very proudly,
Okay.
of our public library. But that's already about 15, even more, years ago. Time flies.
So you're very dedicated to library.
Yeah, I'm very active. But that was my start into politics, actually, because unlike many communities, the library board is an elected position.
Yeah.
And I served with Congressman Gilman's ex-wife, who passed away, Jane Gilman, and Ralph Russo. The three of us came in together, and it's a 5-person board, and we worked hard with Dick Bell and Eileen Bagg. So the 5 of us built a new public library.
That's
and I'm real proud of it. And we renovated the Erie train station, which is right in the heart of the city of Middletown.
There's a lot of talk about and a big problem of how to get people interested in the library, and when books are online and everything, resources and what you could look up is online, and they don't use the Dewey Decimal System anymore, I'm told. So there's like this transition going on to try to get people into the library so that they can find a new use? And
Yeah, but
what's
it's-
Middletown's experience?
It's active, and when you talk to
What is-
librarians, you might want to do a future show on it. I would recommend it. You'll find that in most instances, the libraries are filled and used. People need interpretation and assistance to guide themselves, to guide through the information maze. So there's a lot of work still to be done. There's a great need for public libraries, and I believe that it's a great equalizer. That's one thing I love about public libraries. You have rich and poor, white and black, up and down, big and small. Everybody has access to the public library, and it also is an understated tool for economic development.
And-
Small business people have access to information, and students do, and so I'm a big advocate
Do
of
you
public
have
libraries.
a TV studio in your library?
No, I wish we did.
Well,
See,
here you
there, we're
go.
better over here.
I'd come down to your
You know,
TV
just to
studio.
put in a commercial for Judaism, because we are on the Jewish view.
Right.
That Judaism, thousands of years ago, I think the library started by Benjamin Franklin, if I'm not mistaken, from my grammar school.
I just visited it the other day.
Really?
My daughter goes to school there.
Where is that?
And-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, she goes
He
to the
was there,
University
the
of the
original
Arts, and it's like right near our hotel.
Well, Judaism always says thousands of years ago, not just a few hundred years ago, that education is for every person. And even though it doesn't sound too radical in America, so yeah, wow, you know, that's public school education, not saying anything special, but thousands of years ago was a very radical idea that every child, and really, you know, you can say different reasons why Jewish people, I mean, they're people, they're doctors, lawyers, they're educated. Israel has so many innovative ideas. It's because education is such a part of the psyche. And like what you're saying, if you want to be better, then, raise people up. Education, which means library, which means books, that the more you read, the more you're educated, the more you're going to advance. So,
Well, I hope our fellow Jews live up to the reputation of being people of the book. And also, I feel that another great thing about the library is like you could have a doctorate level person next to somebody studying for the GED, high school equivalency.
but, we're talking about Jews in Israel. I don't know if our viewers can see it, but of course I'm just a few feet away from you.
Right.
You're wearing a pin with those flags interlaced, the American flag and the Israeli flag. So obviously you're a very proud Jewish person. You've been to Israel, or you've...
I've been to Israel. I stopped counting after the first dozen.
Oh, really?
I've been
That
there
many times?
more than 20 times.
Do you have a
Really?
favorite place that you like to go to?
I have kind of an adopted hometown of Netanya, and
Yeah.
I travel there. I have friends there, close friends, and also in Haifa and Jerusalem. And when I go on a short trip, I just do the triangle, visit those three places, and then when I have more time, I explore other places. But I've been blessed to see most of Israel, and I'm
20
looking
times is a lot. Huh?
I'm looking forward to going back again.
So any thoughts on the elections?
Lots of thoughts. I mean, today, just
in
interestingly
general.
enough, this was the time that the election polls just closed.
Yeah, but personal thoughts that you have.
Well,
Are
pardon me.
you a
well,
Netanyahu fan, or?
I tend to be a centrist, and I'm not. I like to be open-minded. So the things I like about Prime Minister Netanyahu, I wish he would articulate a greater vision for peace, because I think he can bring most of the country along with him. When I think if it goes to labor with Mr. Herzog, then I think that you're already coming with like half a loaf, because I don't know that anybody on the center left will have the credibility of delivering, kind of the Nixon to China idea.
So do you like the fact that Herzog would be on 1 year and then Livni's Tzipi?
Well, she dropped out.
Yeah,
She
it's
just
not
announced
anymore.
today that that's
Oh,
over, that she
that's
just has
over?
given him a free pass, that he'll
Oh.
be. It could, however, be rotating prime ministerships between Labor and Likud,
Right.
depending on what President
Coalitions,
Rivlin,
kind of
Ruby-
coalitions. Who knows how it's going to end up
Right.
now before the
Right, but it's
election.
another interesting thing is today's
This
St.
is like what-
Patrick's Day,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd like to wish everybody
All
a
right.
happy
That's
St.
why your
Patrick's
green tie over
Green
here. Is
tie.
that the reason?
But interesting, Mr. Herzog, I think I have this right, pardon me,
Is the son of Chaim Herzog.
the son of Chaim Herzog, who was the chief rabbi of Ireland, and then became the chief Ashkenaz rabbi of Israel. So it's kind of fitting to bring that up on
And
St.
then
Patrick's Day.
his grandfather.
His grandfather. His father was the general.
Right.
The grandfather was the person I was referring to.
Okay, so, and then his father, Chaim Herzog, was the general and the prime minister at one point, I believe.
Yeah,
or
he was-
president of Israel, maybe. He had one of the top titles. So.
Well, yeah.
I was
think-
reading about it.
Yeah, I
earlier,
think
yeah.
it was the grandfather that was the one who became the president and who was also the chief rabbi. And his father, I think, was the general. But we'll have to Google it later.
Someone will figure it out. Okay.
There's also, before we leave Israel,
Yeah.
there's a couple of interesting smaller parties that I like following to the
Okay.
extent that I can. Kulonu, which was an ex-Likudnik, very popular guy, and Kalon, and he joined forces with Michael Oren, who is the former ambassador to the United States from Israel, and very interesting guy, brilliant guy who wrote the book about the Six-Day War. So centrist party, that's
Have
kind
you
of what I'm
met them
inspired.
through all your, 20 times in Israel, and you're a major politician yourself in the United States.
I've been in the same room with many of them, and shook hands with Golda Meir once, going
Really?
way back, and Menachem Begin, Rock'em Sock'em Menachem, and I've had Ariel Sharon, but I've come in their proximity and shake hands. It's not like I've sat down and had dinner with these guys, but I'd love to.
So, so are you for a two-state solution, or what's your view on that?
Yeah, I'm for reciprocal recognition of reciprocal rights, and I can, of course, I live in America. It'll be a decision for the Israelis to make, but I would support reconciliation between the Jewish people and the Jewish state and the Palestinian
Well, you
people.
mentioned Ireland earlier, and if Ireland can unify and come together, and
Well,
not
they
have-
just stopped killing each other.
and
They didn't
stop-
actually unify. Northern Ireland's still a separate legal entity.
Well, but stop killing each other. I mean, that's really what would be, a blessing in Israel too.
I think most people would describe my views on the subject as pretty conservative.
Yeah.
But I like to have a vision of peace, and I think that would be as much self-expression for the Palestinians as they can without threatening the Jewish people's security. So that's the objective of hopefully future negotiations.
Okay, well, let's get into something more domestic, if I could.
Closer to home.
Casinos, Sullivan County versus Orange County. Sullivan County got the casino, Orange County felt left out. Are you in favor of casinos? Do you think it adds to gambling addictions? What's going on?
Well, it's funny. I have a personal thing with casino gambling going all the way back to Jake Gunther when I worked for him in the state assembly. And I proudly processed an amendment to the original state constitutional change, which called for a non-specific but a percentage of casino revenues to be devoted to people with gambling addictions.
Right.
Very good.
And I was kind of proud of the fact that.
Well, that's happening, and that's happening with $500 per table and per machine has to go towards gambling addiction.
Well, I hope that's enough, but
Well,
at
it's a
any
lot-
rate,
a lot of machines and a lot of tables. So,
well, a lot of people can get hurt, but I'm still for it, and I wrote a letter of support for casinos for the appropriate committee.
do you feel hurt it wasn't Orange County?
Well, I can't say I'm hurt, but I think that
Well, a lot of people in Orange County say, they're whining. And
in my letter, I said that I supported a casino for Sullivan County. They've been waiting forever,
Right.
and I'm happy that they received one in Kaimisha, right outside of Monticello. I think that's a good thing, and
It's going to be on the grounds of the Grossingers, old Grossingers?
Concord.
Concord.
Yeah, Concord. I went up there and took a ride, visited up the
Yeah.
area. I also
Tough
supported.
to make a kosher restaurant there. It would be like
Well,
old times
I'd
over
love to
here.
see one come back.
Yeah.
That used to be when I was a young boy. That used to be my
You were raised up
cultural
in that area?
Middletown.
Yeah, really?
I'm Middletown born.
Yeah.
So, cultural Jewish outing for my family would be to ride to Monticello and get bagels and corned beef sandwiches.
Were you
Of a Kaplan's, if you
Were you
remember
brought
that.
up in a reform, as a reform Jew?
There's
or-
only one temple in the greater Middletown area, and that's conservative. So
Okay.
happily, we only had one choice. You either attended or you didn't.
Well, now you have.
So I'm
some-
most comfortable with that. And I, at one time, was a trustee of my local synagogue.
Nice.
Now there's Chabad, which of course I'm a member, like I said, of Chabad of Dalmar, but there's Chabad really all over the world. Wherever there's Jews, there's Chabad. You deal with them, or you have
Sure.
dealings with the Chabad in your area?
Yeah, there's actually two somewhat competitive Chabadniks in Orange County. One centered out of Goshen, one out of Monroe, and I get invited by Mr. Rabbi Borenstein of the Goshen. I light the menorah at the Galleria Shopping Mall every year. He invites me,
very
which I'm
good.
really.
So
And
you
then
go there.
and then Rabbi Burstein. It's interesting. They even have similar last names. You know, he's active, and his both wives are active as well. So, you know, it's maybe it's good to have a little competition. I was actually, you know, you leave it to the Jewish people, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
two Chabadniks in the same locality. I had
Well,
actually
how far apart is Goshen to Monroe?
right next to each other, basically.
5 miles?
Yeah, 7,
Something
10
like
miles,
that?
something like that.
Well, that's what we have here with the Albany Chabad and Delmar Chabad. It's only,
We're not in competition.
no, but it's like 5 miles. You know,
Yeah,
it's
so
like-
it could be like equal. And
Well, I'll give a plug for Chabad in Philadelphia.
All right.
Where my daughter, I mentioned, goes to college there. She was approached by a Chabadnik rabbi and his wife, and I guess it's part of their mission to reach out to this small school, and so they've been very helpful.
Which school is that, Drexel?
It's called University of the Arts,
Never
UArts.
heard of it.
Yeah, it's small, but it's been there for a long time, and I'm delighted that my daughter has a Jewish family and a rabbi's family to touch
Yeah, well,
base
that's
with.
the part, like I say, wherever there's Jews, you know, their Chabad's going to be there. Every person's important. That's really the bottom line. Not like a big community or a big synagogue, wherever there's somebody that's,
and
And,
there's
and I love when I was a single, lonely guy, they would like stop by with the mitzvah tank or mobile, whatever it was called, and they'd give out
New York,
Shabbos
you mean?
candles. In Brooklyn, actually.
Brooklyn.
And I used to teach high school in Brooklyn.
oh, really? You have a lot of varied
Yeah,
professions.
I've been around. Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
are you?
How old am I?
I asked you first.
Yeah, how old are you? What difference does it make? That's how old I am.
asking.
Just saying 29 like
I'm
me
over
over
60
here.
at this point.
You are,
Yeah.
okay.
I
I
do.
bet
I
you've
wanted
been
to ask you about Kiryas Joel.
Okay.
What's going on with that? Is there...
Why don't you say the basics over here for the viewers? They don't even.
well, I don't know the basics. I'm asking him the basics.
Well,
We'll start
Kiryas
with the
Joel is
basics
the Satmar
then.
Hasidic village, which is grown by leaps and bounds. It's probably got, in the last census, I think it was about 25,000
That's
plus.
a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know,
Well,
I wouldn't even know.
Aren't they
that
the
much.
poorest community in the country or something?
I've read that.
Or people, the most number of people in a square mile
Densely
that,
populated.
that's on food stamps and welfare and all that?
Well, it's a big local issue, and there's a local challenge, and you know, I talk about it with the village, even though it's not my district.
Right.
My heart belongs to, of course, Middletown. That's my district, but it impacts on tax structures and all the rest.
And they want to expand, move
Right.
into Woodbury.
Well, right now there's I think 2 or maybe even 3 different proceedings to annex land to
Yeah.
the village. One of them is 500 plus acres, so it's a cause of alarm for some people.
In Woodbury, though, right?
South Blooming Grove, Woodbury District are all very close,
Yeah.
and mostly in the town of Monroe.
Uh-huh.
So you have the town of Monroe, even though it's small, the town of Monroe is actually the largest population of any town in the county.
Because of...
Well, it has 3 villages. It has
Observant.
Kiryas Joel, the village of Monroe, and the village, half of the village of Harriman.
But just to put in a, you know, I'm not involved with them, it's a different Hasidic group, but, you know, that, just to put for our viewers into perspective, is just because we don't have birth control in the Hasidic area, so the population is booming. It's not like they're bringing in people
Right.
from all over.
Large families.
Yeah.
I was
They
just
need
talking.
the area, that's why they need the expansion. It's not like they're taking over anything, they just need the area for apartments and houses.
Well, everything's a question of personal interpretation of the facts, and it's a very charged situation. And it's very challenging for a lot of the people in the neighborhood. I can see both sides. I have a duty to explore both sides.
right.
And I was just speaking to a village representative actually yesterday. I was there yesterday buying pickles and olives.
So when from an you're on the Economic Development Committee in your county legislature role, I mean, is this good for economic development, having this cluster and having, I mean, because they have to feed everyone in there and they have to...
That's a very positive outlook, but that's not one shared by most of the people in the community. I think that there's a lot of challenges because there is a need to sustain large families. So even if you have a good job and you have 7 or 8 children, it's not going to make it. You have to, apply for food stamps. It's just the facts of life, no matter what ethnic stripe you are. But they have many, many, many large families. So there's a big push on social services, and that becomes decisively unpopular. Then there's other issues as well involved with it, but I have county roads I have to vote on. It's not my section of the county, but it's one of the big issues. The other 2 big
But it's
issues.
an impact on the county budget.
No question about
And you
it.
have to vote on the county budget, and you have to understand the county budget. So that's why this is important, and you should know about this, aside from it just being in your district.
Well, I think I've articulated it pretty
Yeah.
well, but if you want to go on more, I'll go on for as long as you want about the subject, but there are other big issues as well, like highly charged issues that we just went through, which is the sale or the suggestion of the sale of the nursing home, the county-owned nursing home.
Well, that's always,
Valley
we've had so many Albany County legislators. I think every time that's, like you say, always a big subject on our
What's it
show. but-
costing?
We had a big battle over this,
What's
more
it
than
co-
one.
What's the numbers?
What's it costing Orange County for their nursing home
Well, that's interesting. It's about $7.5 million was the bill,
for the year?
but they thought, the numbers were always in question. We had a special investigation committee with subpoena powers to try to get, a couple of years back, in order to try to get the right information, because there was a credibility gap between the legislature and the executive branch, the prior executive. And then also we had another special investigation committee over the other big issue, which is the county government center, which was flooded out more than 3 years ago and still remains empty.
Because of Sandy?
Yeah,
Hurricane Sandy?
Really?
and Lee,
terrible.
Tropical Storm Lee.
Yeah.
And
But stay with the nursing home for a minute,
Okay.
because that's very important. In Albany County, we were bleeding from some measurements. The county executive said $1 million a month. That's $12 million a year. Now we hired an executive director that is overseeing the nursing home, and it's coming down to $6 million a year. They cut the deficit in half, and they're doing other creative things to cut the deficit even more,
Right.
and maybe even make it a profit-making agency in the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, we have a similar
So,
story.
do you have optimists? Do you want to sell? Do you favor selling the nursing home, or do you favor bringing someone in to hopefully turn it around and correct it?
We already brought somebody in.
You did?
We had a private company which turned out to be very expensive, and when we hired direct control, took direct county control back,
Yes.
which we used to have in prior years, the efficiencies were put in place, and it's been a much better economic forecast as a result of that.
And was that what you favored?
Millions of dollars were saved.
What was your position on it?
I was in the Democratic Party position. I was the minority leader, was in favor of keeping it as a county-owned facility. I had a kind of a compromise suggestion that I floated, which I still think is an idea with merit for exploration, possibly for the future, which was to downsize the facility from 360 beds currently, downsize it by about 120 beds, and bring those over to another location
No one liked that.
in my district, in Middletown, at the former Horton Hospital, where we have Toro Medical College, osteopathic medicine. It's a great future.
Did anyone like that idea
Well,
besides you?
you know how, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It wasn't universally accepted. You know how it is with government. Anytime you have a new idea,
It's like
I like to
religion.
bring new ideas to the table.
Right.
I mean, I like to be. I'm open-minded to compromise and open-minded to innovation, new ideas. So I'm not afraid of doing it. A lot of people are hesitant to even explore new ideas. Well, that's not me. So whenever you give a new idea on almost any subject, the predictable answer is going to be no or opposition. So my own policy is I ignore the first no. I acknowledge the second no. And if there's a third no, then I make a decision as to whether it's worth my time to go forward anyway. But, three no's and maybe I'll postpone and move back. There was legitimate questions about whether we could transfer these beds. The state health department would have to be involved, have to be endorsed. It would take a lot of work. But there was an interesting opportunity where the Toro medical students would be assigned some of the people in the nursing home. So they'd be they'd be student activists,
Right.
not activists, but
Interns?
Advocates.
advocates. Thank you for the patient resident.
Right.
And I thought that would actually give the opportunity for better medical care, and there's union issues that had to be focused on. But I'm very pleased the fact that our side prevailed and we kept ownership as an Orange County facility, which has been for well over 100 years.
What was the other side? I mean, the other
They
side
wanted
was
to sell
it?
privatize it, and then it was even more complicated. The county executive came up with the new county executive came up with an idea for an LDC, a local development corporation.
Right.
And
We did that in Albany here, yeah.
yeah, but the problem with that is you have to make sure that you guarantee that they'll abide by open meetings laws and
Right, but it takes
reporting.
it off the tax rolls at that point with the LDC.
Well, it takes away the control from the elected officials.
But it also takes it off the tax rolls.
Not
where you-
necessarily,
Where
but
you
it
don't
could.
have to take it, put.
Ours was off the tax rolls because it was.
No, but I meant also out of the budget, out of the county
it
budget.
privatizes it.
Right, but the LDC takes it out of the county budget so that you don't see this red ink pouring out of the county budget.
Well, yes and no, actually.
It's
It
yes.
might be, well, the no part of it is that somebody's got to pay for the sustenance of the facility, whether the LDC owns it or whether the county owns it. So somebody's got to pay the bills.
The LDC.
Well, the LDC doesn't have any money, so the LDC would then come to the county for financing. That's the way it worked at Orange County at any rate. But it didn't take off. It didn't take off.
Right.
But
We
it was
had that
interesting.
debate here,
the,
yeah.
the reason why I opposed the LDC, even though I had the ability to appoint one person to be on the LDC, but was the lack of control. That meant that it was the legislature kind of surrendering its power and its prerogative to an unelected group in order to decide the future of a facility. You know, I wanted to make the decision. I wanted to have the authority to maintain my authority and other legislators to have our authority to actually decide the issue. I didn't want to run from it.
Okay. What was the other issue you were going?
The government
on?
center
Government
building.
center.
Right. We have
That's
a-
in Goshen.
Why
Right.
can't they rebuild it? I mean, it's been a few years since Sandy.
Yeah. Well, we've been.
I'm sure that's a big issue there. but-
I mean, it's a refreshing way to ask it. Only because it's been like so politicized and fought after for so many years at this point. There's been a plan to it's three like pods or divisions they're called. So there was a compromise that was agreed to about a year and 2 months ago to renovate two of the three divisions, the largest ones, and then take down Division 2 and rebuild that on the foundation. And that, after 2 years of confrontation, particularly between the former executive and the county legislature, being deadlocked.
Did you get any insurance money for that?
Yeah, some
'Cause
FEMA
there's
money.
money.
Some
And
FEMA
how
money.
effective is Senator Schumer in terms of getting federal funds to do this government and center?
Well, you
Because
know,
he seems to be all over the place on this.
he's been
Sandy Aid
he's
and-
very familiar with it, but he's been helpful in trying to help Orange County deal with FEMA, and it gets very complicated about the FEMA money. But there's about $3.5 million. That's the scale when we're talking about we approved bonding for renovating this project, as I mentioned, with the new construction.
How much?
At $74 million.
Oh, wow.
Well, the prior county executive proposal was demolition and new
Right.
construction. He
And how much was that?
124 million, and then it was ballooned up to 135 million. Anyway, now it's down to
74 million.
74 million, but that also includes the soft cost, so it's actually 10 million less in the normal way of talking
Do you have
about it.
problems up
But that's
there,
probably
you
somebody
know?
just to
Yeah,
sorry to
go
interrupt, but
ahead.
there was another part of this challenge is that we had an architect from New York City offer us $5 million after we approved the project to make it an artist residence, an Arts Orange, which was a really cool idea. He was not a dollar short, but he was more than a day late. But there's advocates for that concept, and I thought it was it's a cool idea. I went down to Brooklyn and looked at a similar type facility, but there are several roadblocks, and we're under pressures from the court administration saying that Orange County is legitimately 3 years. It's enough. I tried my best to provide whatever leadership I had to come with the compromise solution, which ultimately passed. But it's a historically very significant building. Rudolph he has the brutalist design. He's a famous architect, and some people want to protect the entire building, so it's still contentious.
Okay.
All right, I just 5 seconds because we're out of time, but it's a shame. I'm just looking back at, I know people up here in Skodak, whatever, in these areas, Sandy hit, and people are still 2-3 years later without homes, without city halls. I mean, it's a shame that the state or somebody didn't pick up the pieces.
Well, it's a local jurisdictional issue, and we need to. It's part of politics today. There's a lot of division. I like to use my skills to bring people together for compromise solutions, and that's difficult
Jeffrey,
enough.
we're out of time, but you're doing good work in Orange
Thank you.
County, and keep it up, and do it with good
And
health.
I'm proud that Israel can get an 80% voter turnout when we can get less than 50%
Well,
here. It's a vibrant democracy.
Much success to you in the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.